One, go.
All right, everyone, we are back. It is Headlocks and Handoffs. We're on episode 11. We have the headlock version of our podcast tonight. It has been a long time since we got together to talk wrestling, but tonight we are talking wrestling, all wrestling and nothing but the wrestling.
Yes,
And then probably a few other things. But
I'm,
yes, super
I'm
excited.
a little overjoyed because I know we haven't done this in a little while, which is, life gets in the way of stuff, and obviously this is not our main objective of our lives, but it's just something fun that we like to do. But again, like we said, life gets in the way, and obviously that takes priority over this. But this is a nice change. We finally get back to coming on and talking about stuff that we really enjoy, which this week is wrestling.
Today's wrestling.
Yes.
And then the rest of the week, we got handoffs after.
Well, who knows when handoffs will happen? Hopefully it'll
That
happen
is true.
this week. So we'll play it by ear. But I'm excited to talk about wrestling tonight because
because it's March 1st.
It is, which means we're still on the road to WrestleMania, and we are running out of time. I think we're 40 days away.
I mean, I haven't really counted. I think we're like 182 hours, just saying.
I think the last time I checked, it was 40 days, I believe.
It's getting close.
But it's exciting because obviously last year's WrestleMania was obviously very different because it was 2 days. There was no crowd. They did it in the Performance Center. Now what they're going to do is...
They had some nice... I was going to say they had some nice cinematic experiences.
Yeah, which was good, which was great. But now this year they're going to have it back where they were supposed to have it last year in Tampa at the stadium. And I think they said they're shooting for 30,000 people, which obviously is not a very big crowd for a WrestleMania, which is about half maybe. But
they'll still call it a record-breaking capacity crowd of 87,212.
Absolutely, yeah. Counting all the
you heard it here
cutouts
first.
And everything, yeah. But it should be fun. I mean, hopefully that they continue to do that. And then they prolong, because this year they were supposed to be in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to change it up. And so hopefully next year they will now proceed to Hollywood and then they'll go from there. But I'm excited to see the WrestleMania this year, to see what's going on. But it's a little strange because there's not a lot of matches announced yet. Right now it's only, Edge and Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only two that I know of that is officially WrestleMania matches as of now.
All right.
But, we figure, you know what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we always know more will come, so it's not really.
Yeah. It's amazing because they'll add they'll get to the last week before WrestleMania and be like, well, we just added 5 more matches.
Mm-hmm.
It's now an 8-hour WrestleMania. Jeez. It's like, oh God.
I will say having it in over 2 days and only 4 hours each night made it a lot more manageable to watch.
Right.
Because I feel when we would have a WrestleMania get together, WrestleMania party, we would meet at noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's all right, we have the next 10 hours of wrestling, and it gets to be a lot. You know, it is. It's tough watching.
It becomes very exhausting.
It is.
It gets to a point where we watch so much, which is fine because if the WrestleMania matches are good, then I have no problem watching them. But
definitely.
If we're going to sit there and we're going to consume a ton of food, sit in a food coma, have a couple of adult beverages, and there's only so much you can do in that time frame. It's not like a Super Bowl. It is the Super Bowl of wrestling, but
it is.
It's like 3 Super Bowls in one.
It's true though. It's just too long,
but it's an exciting year. I love this time of year. As a wrestling fan, this is something where they just build up different storylines. You would hope that some of the storylines that probably weren't so great will turn into something at the end that would be like a big payoff, and then who knows what's going to really happen. But it'll be good to see a crowd there if they go forward with it, and the fireworks and all the good stuff that comes from being at WrestleMania.
Definitely. And with the crowd, I'm curious to see if it's only 4 or 5 seats between each person or each group, or everyone's on that first tier.
I mean, who knows?
It might be,
It's in Florida, so I mean, Florida's got much different protocols than most places in the United States.
Correct.
So I'm sure they can get away with a little bit more there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're able to, we should go down and get the last row there. Top seat, last row.
You know what? We could buy the last row there. We could probably just move ourselves up and sit between a couple of celebrity cutouts.
We probably could. Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be kind of cool.
You know, I kind of know someone that lives in Florida that we could probably stay at his place for the weekend.
And I hear that he's got the same nickname as a Hall of Famer.
Really? Now he probably. Well, I can't get into that part, but
I'm sure he's got
a few. Yeah, a few.
He's got a railroad full of certain things, and
yeah.
you know, we'll call them, you know, people.
Yeah, nice acquaintances.
That's a better way. I like that.
Yeah, and he does have the shirt that says his name too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know he wears that all the time when he's up here.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
But does he have a cane? Does he have a feather in his cap?
No, I was thinking of the cane, but how big the stone was on it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you know, he's got on the cane on the handle. It's a big mustache, an ode to his son.
Oh God.
Father.
Anyway, all right, we keep doing this, but so
we're good. So listen.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Yes, right. Let's go.
That's what I was going to do. I was trying to do that.
Well, I'm trying to get you to get there, so let's just get there.
Whoa! Okay. You're the one that was talking about your dad. What are you talking about?
We don't say names here. The Godfather.
I mean the Godfather of you.
Everything.
And life. All right. So we have issued an open challenge in this discussion today. So anybody that wants to join will join. If no one does, whatever. It's just me and you, and that's all we really need.
High five. That's all we need.
High five. So today's discussion, we're going over our favorite WrestleManias. You know, and I know we discussed before, you have multiple ones. I as well have multiple ones. I'm pretty sure both of ours are going to be a little different, but I know we have the cards set up in front of us. I actually took the time, because I have the time, to watch both those WrestleManias in the last couple of days. So I kind of refreshed up, but definitely brought back a lot of cool memories and
definitely
reasons why those were there. So we'll talk about, you know, why we liked it, and, you know, just jump in and, you know, tell me if you disagree or, you know, we agree, or, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff that we'll go over. So why don't you start off with your first favorite WrestleMania?
Really? Oh, looks like I get to go first. All right.
I'm eager to hear yours.
All right. So I got to say this one for multiple reasons. I do have probably two that stick out the most, but I'm going to talk about WrestleMania 10 first.
Okay.
WrestleMania 10. I've seen it a few times before, but I was watching stuff on the Screwjob in Montreal with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. I was watching the death of Owen Hart. I think we were talking about it.
Yeah.
With the behind the ring stuff. I just forgot the name now.
Wasn't Behind the Ring.
No, I know, not Behind the Ring. I'm losing my mind. Okay,
anyhow, Beyond the Ring?
Not Beyond the Ring.
Behind it?
The Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side of Underneath the Ring and Over the Top Rope. So that's kind of it. But no, they were talking about Owen Hart's death in there and like a lot of what was going on with him before that happened. Mm-hmm. And they showed the match with him versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. And I almost forgot how good that match was, because I feel like they're just two technical guys that are just so incredible to watch. And they were
the first match. They were the opening match that night.
Yes, they were.
Which was like, how many times do you see Bret Hart opening up, especially in his prime, opening up a WrestleMania like that? And I totally agree. That's definitely, I would say WrestleMania 10 is in my top 5 of WrestleManias, but that match was probably one of the best opening matches, I would think.
Definitely. I mean, they went for 20 minutes opening round. And I feel like the finish was like a schoolboy or something like that. It wasn't, like anything specific. It wasn't a sharpshooter and like that.
Right,
it was kind of like Owen and Bret were both exhausted. Owen more than Bret, but it was kind of like, he got me. Okay, like the little brother got me. And another big reason for this match is after the Rumble of that year in 94, Bret and Owen were tag partners. And they lost the belt, or they lost in the match against the Quebecers at the Rumble.
Yep.
Owen kicked out Bret Hart's leg. Bret Hart. They both went into the Rumble. Bret was feeling all broken up and all that, or broken down. And him and Luger were co-champions. So in order to make it fair, I think it was like a coin flip or something. Bret had to wrestle his brother in the first match, while Luger would wrestle against Yokozuna. then the winner of Luger and Yoko would wrestle Bret Hart no matter what. So so before I even get to that,
was the British Bulldog involved in that one?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, I just want to make sure.
Just making sure.
Didn't he? I thought he won. My mistake. I guess he didn't.
No, it's funny he's not even on on the card.
Right.
British Bulldog wasn't even there.
So. He wasn't. I think not until the following WrestleMania. I think he was in the next card with WrestleMania, but nothing to really discuss about.
Yeah. But so it was Luger versus Yokozuna. I forgot where it was going now, but with Bret and Owen, that started almost like a whole feud, or they just kept that going. They had the steel cage match. I think that year at SummerSlam, like a bunch of matches where it's like, these guys are just killing it. I mean, they're going out there every month or every few months when the pay-per-views happen and just having like these great matches.
Every match was good. I mean, it's like you would see these guys wrestle multiple times. You're like, all right, enough's enough. But like, you have, like you said, two technical wrestlers, brothers, people that, again, the famous Hart Dungeon. And Stu Hart training both of them. Like, obviously, they're going to be, great wrestlers, and they're going to put on a great show.
Mm-hmm. So before I hand it over to you, a few other notable matches on there that just made it fun or interesting. It was Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon against Doink the Clown and Dink the Clown. Dink was the little smaller wrestler, the midget, whatever you want to call it. But that, it was like a little comedic match after Owen versus Bret, which was pretty cool. You had Randy Savage versus Crush, Alundra Blaze versus Lelina Kai.
Can't believe you're missing the one that I thought you would say would be your top match in the whole card.
Who? Earthquake versus Adam Bomb with Dr. Harvey Wimpleman?
Yeah, obviously it was that one.
35 seconds. Yeah. No, this was, I know I'm getting there, don't worry. It was Razor and Shawn Michaels in the ladder match. And I feel like this was the ladder match that started everything. Another little side part to this. So I think we said it before. Shawn Michaels wrote a book all about wrestling and what was going on. Going into this match, Michaels was banned, or he was on some time off because he was caught doing steroids. He said that he never took steroids. Right. So when he left, Vince was like, hey, I need the IC belt, because if you're being, taking 90 days off or so, I need the belt. And he basically said, like, no, I didn't do anything. Like, your tests are wrong. I'm keeping the belt. So when Shawn came back, he's like, look, I still have my own belt. You got the fake belt. And they had both IC belts hanging from the top. And that's why when Razor went and got both of them, like, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
So I just feel, sorry, with this one, there was a lot of side stories going into it, where going in with the two different belts for Razor to get that match. I think it was like a 20-man battle royal on Raw. And I still remember it was Razor down to like 5 other guys. Rick Martel was one of them, where Razor
that's all starting to come back. I forgot about that.
But it was like Razor, Rick Martel, I want to say IRS, and like a tag team, where it was legit like a 4 or 5 on 1. Razor was the only good guy there. And all the bad guys are like beating them up. And one by one, like, they accidentally get thrown out, or they jump to go hit Razor, he ducks, they go over the top rope. So when it comes down to it, it's Razor versus Rick Martel. And then they have a match the next week to see who goes for the IC belt, or who becomes the champ, actually. Yeah. Because the belt was vacant.
It's amazing how these non-storylines, like the thing with Shawn Michaels, they can be like, all right, well, we can use that, and we are going to, and it worked to their advantage. What's that?
Yeah, was that the British Bulldog?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's a little angry right now because we were like, oh, he wasn't on the card, so he's a little bitter about it.
That's all right.
But I would agree that is definitely a very memorable and very good WrestleMania because of what it was and what they did with it.
Well, thank you. And of course,
the 10-year anniversary of it too, being at Madison Square Garden, which is,
I would say, at MSG. Definitely.
Where it's, because there's WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 20.
WrestleMania 2 also, or no? Was 2?
2 was in Coliseum.
It was the Coliseum. It was Trump Towers in New Jersey,
Trump
and one
Plaza.
other place.
I forgot the other one. If Jimmy was on, he could probably tell us. But
that's right. He ain't worth it. That's right.
Oh.
He won't be able to comment in real English anyhow. All right, so WrestleMania 10 MSG. British Bulldog won every single match on the card, and that was it. All right.
I knew it.
I'm gonna hand off, tag you in. Boom.
All right. So
Mr. Anthony, let's hear it.
So I'm gonna go in my order of which one my favorite, and then my absolute favorite. So I'm actually gonna go ahead, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'll tell you why. So my second favorite would be WrestleMania 28 in Miami, Florida. Reason being because there was so much emotion in most of those matches, and there were so many good ones. And obviously, you know, I think the good ones definitely overshadowed some of the bad ones. And I'm not saying so bad. I mean, you had the opening matchup between Sheamus and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan still being somebody that was like, all right, what is this guy doing? Is he very lucky? You know, he's the world heavyweight champion because he cashed in his Money in the Bank. And, you know, he was still like kind of an unknown. And,
it was the kiss of death.
Oh, yeah. And Sheamus was still kind of new, winning the Rumble and then being in the opening match. That only lasted, I think,
18 seconds.
Yeah, like it was just some ridiculous. I think, let's see. It was.
I got, according to Layla Astartitian,
18 seconds.
18 seconds.
Yeah.
Because the bell rang, he went to go give AJ Lee a little kiss, and then CM Punk hit him in the face. Then Sheamus just gave him the boot, and that was it.
But even just talking about like emotion, like you have a match like the Big Show and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes being to this day still a very underused, underrated wrestler in the WWE. Yes. So they didn't really use him properly, in my opinion, and I'm sure you agree to that.
Definitely.
But he had to defend the title against the Big Show, and the Big Show had the storyline of always just having really terrible WrestleMania moments and not really getting his time to shine in any of the matches. Mm-hmm. And then winning the IC title. And then you could see like just how happy he was to finally have a moment, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm a big sucker when it comes to stuff like that, because when you see the raw emotion from a lot of these wrestlers, like that's ultimately what they want. Like to get that to that point, however you do it, is definitely something that that really draws me to the product, especially when we were talking about that WrestleMania. So that was one of them. The Undertaker and Triple H was definitely one of the huge highlights. And one of the reasons was because the match went over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and Undertaker and Triple H were a little younger then. I mean, like young, old, but like the last of their generation. And it was pretty much Triple H's second attempt to try and to take down the Undertaker, and having Shawn Michaels as his his special guest. And then promoing like he has the advantage in his hand. He can dictate if the Undertaker is going to lose or not. It's on him. But he called the match down the middle for the majority of it.
For the majority. Wait! I love how he said it. He called it so fair down the middle for most of the match, and then at the end,
you're right. And then when you went to the famous Undertaker picking up Triple H for the tombstone, reversed it, super kick to the Undertaker, pedigree to the floor, kick out, and then it was just a series of constant kick outs from that point on. And you saw the face of Shawn Michaels just like, what do we need to do to keep him down? And you just saw the look on his face, and just everybody just exhausted from the match. And then watching Triple H at the end, just, typical opponent of the Undertaker, looking at him like with one breath left in their body, tells him to suck it, hits him down, end of the match. And then watching those three walk out, which is probably one of the coolest things you've ever seen, because you watch Shawn Michaels put his arm around the Undertaker at the end. And I don't know what they said to each other, but obviously it was definitely something.
I think he said nice match.
Yeah, hey, great job beating up on my best friend. But then all of them carrying Triple H out there, because you know what? At that moment, it was pretty much the end of watching our generation of guys just kind of walk out together and knowing like they could still perform at their highest prime at that moment, which was awesome. But again, just raw emotion from that, and then so much.
No, there's so much from HBK.
Yeah.
But like that whole part, I've played that back. The super kick into pedigree, taker kicks out. HBK almost like rolls around the ring like just
like, yeah.
just out of bewilderment. Yeah.
Like, what else do we need to do? It's a hell of a
Yep.
cell. You're beating the hell out of each other, like, and you're going for 30 minutes. Like, for those guys to go 30 minutes, then, you know, to have Undertaker go 5 or 6 now is like, it's tough. But like, you know, but then even I mean, they're mid to late 40s then, somewhere in there,
probably around 40s, there.
You know, Shawn Michaels is only about a year or two removed anyway at that point.
But yeah, this was 9 years ago.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was a great match. And then the next one being the Chris Jericho and CM Punk World WWE Championship match was a great match, because those guys, none of those guys can put on a match that's, you know, subpar or like a B+ match. They always put on good stuff. But I thought was cool, and I was trying. I couldn't find it, and I know the answer at the end of the match where CM Punk wins and Jericho taps out. You see Jericho move his hand on top of CM Punk and tap him on the head, and I know that means something. I just can't remember what that meant.
Yes.
Yes. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, when he tapped him on the head, he says, "I quit."
Well, thanks.
Hey, I submit. That's it.
Are you serious?
No, I really don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that specific part of him.
I never saw it until now. Like, I didn't notice it until now.
Okay.
But I know it means something. I think it means like great match or like something like that. But you just watch Jericho's hand come up and you see it on camera, him tapping CM Punk on the head after the bell is rung and they announce the winner.
I mean, it might just be out of respect. Like, hey, British Bulldog, nice job. Like, sick match.
Yeah. And then, you know, the main event being Rock and Cena.
Yep.
You know, I know you're not a Cena fan, but I don't mind Cena. I'm actually, I am a Cena fan. I do enjoy it, but I love The Rock. But I thought having a match like that being, like you said, a once in a lifetime, even though it happened the next year.
Yeah, 2 years in a row.
But it was a great match. You know, it was you just the raw carnage that the both of them put out. Like, like the match itself, I thought was good in general, and then having The Rock win.
Yep.
Obviously in Miami, I mean, what'd you think was going to happen?
Yeah, come on.
You know, especially when I assume they knew what was going to lead up until next WrestleMania. But I thought that was a great match, because it just shows that you know Cena is still beatable, and The Rock can still be The Rock. And you know, I just thought that was a great end to that WrestleMania. So that's what makes it. That was one of the reasons why I actually enjoyed watching that WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, with the Cena and The Rock, the way they put it together was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like all their promos, because Cena's there every night for everything. Rock is, maybe at best a couple of times a month at best.
Yep.
Really probably once a month. So like for them to kind of get a feud going that's not really seeing each other do much, it takes a lot. So it was pretty impressive that they did that.
Yeah. And like you said, the promos were absolutely like A+ promos every single time.
Yeah. Oh,
it was just and it just showed like the pure hatred between the two. Just like, no, I'm the best of all time though. Like I am, and this is why, and I'll show you that. And you know, it made for a great main event that year.
Yes. And I remember The Rock was always making fun of Cena's like clothing. And he called him, I think this was a big bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
Yep.
And then like Fruity Pebbles was all over Twitter, like trending #1 worldwide now. It's like,
did he have a promo with a kid and like gave him a box of Fruity Pebbles?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Crazy.
Those were fun. Those were a lot. But you know what? Yeah. Honestly, they're two different types of people on the mic, as good as they are. Like you look at The Rock is just hilarious. Like every promo he's done, it is some of the funniest stuff you've ever seen. And then he has, his good moments, like his motivational moments. But then Cena was strictly I mean, I know you don't like him, but you have to admit some of his promos can get you pretty pumped up.
No, and I agree.
I'll give him that. I think he gets a bad rep, because as a wrestler, I think he still can. He can wrestle, but I think there's certain matches where he doesn't look so good and he does very little. But overall, I think I think he played a little bit of the villain in that match too, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. It's all part of it though too. Like he's probably not supposed to do as much. So people almost get on his case even more and then he overcomes it. But I will say too, yeah.
Well, will he break the record for most championships won?
I don't know. He's still in a hell of good shape.
Yeah.
So he easily
who
can.
Knows?
Mm-hmm. And I was gonna say after this WrestleMania, the new promos coming up with The Rock and Cena were pretty impressive even from there.
Oh yeah.
Like everything with Cena was like, yeah, like this was the worst year of my entire life. He's like, I got divorced. I lost to The Rock. I lost this. He lost. He won Money in the Bank and lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like Damian Sandow, but I feel like it was someone kind of like that. Like you weren't really thinking.
I can't remember who it was, but I remember him being very unsuccessful with cashing in his Money in the Bank.
Yes. Agreed.
But it didn't matter because it's like, okay, I may not cash Money in the Bank, but you know what? I'm going to win the Rumble, and then I'm going to go and have another match second time around.
Yeah, that's it. Let's do it from there.
But yeah, so all right.
Next
WrestleMania.
Second WrestleMania. So this is one that just for me. So when I think WrestleMania, obviously 10 stands out, but for me, WrestleMania 6. So it might not be the best WrestleMania, but for me, the match of Hogan versus Warrior, I just remember as a kid, like that's what I was looking forward to so unbelievably much. And as of course I have the card in front of me, they went for 24 minutes, almost 25 minutes back then, which I guess was pretty impressive. But it was a complete, like it was face versus face. It was like probably textbook, as people would say now, like it was stupid wrestling because they're doing the same stuff. Like Hogan had him up in the
gorilla press.
Not a gorilla press, with the test of strength.
Oh, then right,
has the Warrior down. The Warrior comes back up. He has Hogan down. But like that's what back then what made people pop. That was like really cool to see, because I feel too back then like you really didn't know what was going to happen. Who's going to win? Like the British Bulldog comes out, all hell breaks loose. So overall,
he's an angry bulldog.
Yes, and I look at it too. So Warrior was the Intercontinental Champion back then when Hogan was WWF.
He had that cool yellow IC title, right?
Yes, yeah. I think he had yellow, he had purple, he had like a bunch of colors. He had the white belt, I think even. He did it all.
White belt's still my favorite to this day. Yellow being a close second though.
It's pretty cool. So with that, I just feel like Warrior was built up so well, regardless of how good he could wrestle, whatever. It just, you have the IC champ taking on the WWF champion, and it's like an actual good match, just a very memorable match.
Right.
Where now it's kind of like, no, like IC's like mid card, and then the WWF champ is on top.
Where was that match? Where was that WrestleMania?
Pretty sure that was Toronto.
Was it Sky Dome?
Sky Dome in Toronto.
Okay.
So I just feel like there was so much build up with them, so many run-ins at the Rumble. They were tagging, they were helping each other out, they went against each other, just like a lot of stuff that once again I just thought was so cool of everything that was going on with them. As for the rest of the card, I didn't remember many of the other matches. I did remember the Demolition versus the Colossal Connection. Do you remember who was on that?
I vaguely remember that.
So
I'm very interested to see this one.
So the Colossal Connection, before I even tell you who was part of it, this was back WrestleMania 6. They had like the Zamboni rings that would escort you to the ring and then bring you back. And I was like, that is so cool. I don't know like what's moving it or like how they're getting there, but that's awesome. And then, you saw one part like the guy was on the Zamboni in front pulling that little ring. So Colossal Connection is Andre the Giant and Haku. And Bobby Heenan was their manager because he had the whole Heenan family of like his whole crew of guys, which is pretty cool too.
Right.
But I remember Haku. So they Demolition won the match. Andre got knocked back into ropes and got tied in the ropes.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
So then like they finally get him out after the match, and Heenan is just like almost lighting him up with whatever he's saying, and then like he smacks him, and you see Andre like, yo, like you're half my size. You don't do that. Heenan smacks him again, and then Andre like takes him by the throat and was like, you don't do that. And it just like it exploded. Haku's kicking him and stuff. He hits Haku out of the way, and it was just like that's Andre going face, but just this huge like explosion. And I just remember saying like that match alone, I just remembered so well where I was a big
How much
Demolition
pain do you think that Andre the Giant was in that time?
so much. I mean, I feel
That
so
was
the whole
91,
match was
right? Or
is
90?
April 1st,
90,
1990.
okay. So because he
So
died, what, 3 years later, right?
I think it was pretty soon after that.
93, I believe he died.
All right. Well, I think their whole match I think was like 9.5 minutes. I was looking at, and I would say Andre's maybe in there for like a minute.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like, I don't
can't,
remember
like, I
much.
think it was like years prior to that he was even just like, I think even at the earlier WrestleManias too, he was just like
Yeah.
done at that point. But I don't know how he kept going for all those years afterwards.
No, I
He
know.
just kept using him and using him and using him.
As a quick side note, I asked our statistician. Layla said that he died January 27th, 1993. So from this match, 3 years after. So like those last years, he was in a ton of pain.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, so crazy. And like I said, after that match, and obviously Hogan Warrior, for me, nothing else that really stuck out. I mean, I'll go through quickly. It was Rick Martel beating Coco Beware, Earthquake defeating Hercules, Brutus the Barber Beefcake beating up Mr. Perfect, Bad News Brown, Roddy Piper. You have Heart Foundation and the Bolsheviks, the Barbarian against Cito Santana, Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire with Miss Elizabeth against Savage and Queen Sherry, the Orient Express against the Rockers, Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Dino Bravo, DiBiase over Roberts, Big Bossman against Akeem. Then you have Rick Rude and Jimmy Snuka.
That's a lot of matches on that card.
15 matches.
Does it say how long the whole thing was?
That's what I was looking for because I knew you were going to ask that.
I'm like, that's a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot less than that. Like at least 3 or 4 less than that.
Yeah. And there's really no like 8-man matches in there.
Right.
Because I feel like now.
They just throw. We're going to try and get everybody on WrestleMania.
Yeah. It's not really special because everyone's on it now.
Is that the WrestleMania that Roddy Piper so-called retired? That was his last match. I want to say that might have been.
All right, that part
now that you brought up the little mini ring that brings them back and forth, I'm almost certain it was Roddy Piper's farewell match.
If this was, I'm pretty sure he was painted half black, half white.
Wait, who?
Yeah, Roddy Piper against Bad News Brown was painted half black, half white. Like he came out, half of his body was painted black. Yeah, I know.
I don't think I want to touch that topic at all.
Okay.
That is bizarre.
Yes.
What? All right.
I don't get the significance of it, but yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna have to research that and then tell me another time.
All right. So, like I said, overall, that was basically my ideas, my matches from those 2 WrestleManias.
Okay.
Nothing else really pops out, at least from what I remember from WrestleMania 6. There probably still definitely some good matches in there, but nothing else.
I'm sure there were. Edge was there, right?
Yeah, he's sitting row 5, seat 2. Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, of course.
I remember him always saying, like, yeah, I was at WrestleMania 6, and then they would, like, focus on this one little person in the crowd. Like, is that really him?
Yeah, come on. You can focus on anyone, but it's cool.
That's fine. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I didn't expect you to go down to that WrestleMania. I kind of figured you more like in the mid 2000s type of WrestleMania or like late 90s WrestleMania.
I'm still that old school one because I feel like those are the ones that really stand out to me. Those are the ones where as like a true fan, you could watch and just totally get lost with it all.
I feel like you're more of like, you're the fan of the big guys. Like you're a fan of, like you said, like the old school, but you're like, it seems like that, the card you were describing, those were like all big guys. Like you don't see many of these like smaller high flyers at all. Like you don't see any of that stuff because like I'm the opposite. I don't mind those, but I like the new school stuff, like the Attitude Era stuff, obviously, like we all do, but like those matches, mixing it up with a lot of that stuff. And then like that's what I like. I still do enjoy some of those WrestleManias. I'll go back and watch some of the older ones and stuff, and I'll enjoy them, but definitely I probably wouldn't put like 6 would probably be not even in my top 15, unfortunately.
Wow.
Sorry,
Wow.
I know,
You're like,
and I love Hogan and Warrior, but I just now watching it after watching what we've watched growing up as we gotten older, it's like I don't know if I can appreciate it. I just can't watch some of it anymore, unfortunately.
But here's how I see it. That's not like the best match. It's not like the technical match, but I just feel all the story behind it, the emotion, like the actual, like the power. It was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what I remember feeling. You know, like it was a slow moving match. You know, like double shoulder tackle, double close, the whole test of strength to each other. You know, like.
But that's who they were.
Yeah.
And you're right. They were the 2 biggest icons at the time. Like Hogan, obviously the biggest icon ever in wrestling.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior, who is still new, but like just blew through all his opponents and was like, well, can you do that to Hulk Hogan? And he's going to do it at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And he's going to do it in front of a very large crowd. So listen, that's great. Anybody our age or a little older would definitely appreciate that match as one of the biggest marquee matches to ever happen in WrestleMania history.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely top 5 marquee match ever, easily.
But not in your top 40 WrestleManias.
Sorry, not at all, unfortunately.
So what about top 50?
But yes, but I think you will agree to my favorite one of all time, because I've mentioned it quite a number of times.
Oh, I know it.
Do you?
Yeah, WrestleMania 1. So I think you froze. You didn't say yes. You didn't.
I didn't say yes.
Oh.
It's wrong. Was that really your guess?
No.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
All right. So my absolute favorite WrestleMania to this day is WrestleMania 19.
19.
Safeco Field, 2003. Some of the best matches I've seen and just some of the best performances in general. So that was I'm a big Matt Hardy fan. I love Matt Hardy. You know, I love Matt Hardy, and I love the fact that when they let off WrestleMania against he faced Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight Championship, it was like, why is Matt Hardy a cruiserweight? The whole thing was like he just kept his weight under a certain whatever it was. It was just really funny to watch. But I loved his theme music. The Matt Hardy 1.0, it just at that time was just so cool to watch. And it was really cool to see how like the Hardys kind of separated themselves a little bit to their individual paths. And I thought that was pretty cool. The Undertaker match, as not as good as it should be, because it's just a big show. And at that time, it wasn't Lord Tensai at the time, but
or Tensai.
Yeah, but
it was just a train.
It was just a train. But it was that handicap match. But it was the coolest thing because you never see that anywhere else in any other Undertaker match. Was the fact that one, he came out as the American Badass, which was one of my favorites. Which to this day, I think and I think you said it in the documentary, like for him to be so big and to be so popular and to always change with the times was like the coolest thing, because he can transition from the Dead Man to the American Badass back to the Dead Man and never skip a beat. You know? But Limp Bizkit played that year, played his theme song, fireworks going off. Like, when do you ever see fireworks behind the Undertaker? Ever? You just see fake lightning bolts in the back and smoke and stuff like that, which is still cool. But I thought it was like a nice change of pace there, which I thought was a really cool thing. So that was definitely one of up there as one of mine. You know, the team angle against Benoit and Rhino, and then Chavo and Eddie was pretty cool because you just had those up and coming WCW guys wrestling at this WrestleMania, because I think a lot of them was their first WrestleMania, so it was kind of cool to watch and get them to get to see them marquee a little bit in their matches. Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho.
That was a sick match.
I love it. I knew you. It was, again, Chris Jericho being a guy who always wrestles great matches, and Shawn Michaels being Shawn Michaels, just you know. And I think that was definitely. I thought it was kind of funny because the entrance, if you remember from Shawn Michaels, he had like all these like cannons with like the confetti, and half of them didn't work. So he would like blast. He's like, drop it, go to the next one. That one would work. Come back to that side. He's like shaking it. He's like, he's like putting on the cry face. I was like, it was really funny. So I thought that was kind of, but the match itself obviously was like 22 minutes,
Yeah,
22:34. Great match
it's a
to
classic.
watch. Yeah. Um, and then you have Triple H Booker T heavyweight championship. It was another good match. Um, Weird to see Booker T in a match like that, especially. I don't know if that was his first WrestleMania or not. But
If not, maybe his second, because like you
something
were
like that.
saying with the WCW guys in that tag match, I
Right.
feel it was right around that whole merge. So a lot of those WCW guys were just coming over, like I said, first or maybe second time they were coming over there in WrestleMania. I mean,
Right. And then your last three matches of the night, Hogan, Vince McMahon,
yep,
and then having Hogan come out to like his like Hollywood Hogan song, but like a remix version of it,
yep,
which was still a pretty cool theme song to come out to, I think. And then having to face Vince McMahon, which is something obviously anybody in wrestling growing up, our age, older, younger, like it's Vince McMahon against Hulk Hogan. Vince
yep,
McMahon, the one that owns wrestling as a whole, against the man that really drove it home back in
yeah,
the 80s all the way up until like still wrestling into 2003. Like the
yeah,
guy who literally held the ball and ran with the WWE for 20 plus years, 30 years. Like it was so cool. And they wrestled for over 20 minutes,
yeah, oh yeah.
you know?
And if you look at it, that was basically the whole promo with it, like leading up to like Hogan was saying, no, like I'm the guy that made wrestling, like I was the name, and Vince was like, without me, there is no Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And they would go, it was like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
And it was like, no, like you're here, everyone's making millions of dollars because of Hogan.
Right.
Vince is of course like, no, like you're here because I pushed you and I did this and I did that. So like it went back and forth, but it's a great little angle for it.
You're right. But then him rebranding himself in a way when he goes to WCW and being like that
Yeah,
Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which obviously paves the way to like The Rock and to
oh
Cena
yeah,
and all these guys that do like in going Hollywood and stuff like that. And
hmm
we all know we all love Hulk Hogan movies.
of
I'm a
course.
big Suburban Commando guy. I know you are.
Yeah, I like Thunder in Paradise. That's cool too.
Well, Thunder in Paradise definitely is. We
Jeez.
should have a show just discussing
I was gonna say Hulk
Thunder in
Hogan movies.
Paradise.
Or just the Thunder in Paradise. Okay,
We'll just play the music the whole time
that
once
works.
we get
That's
the
cool.
rights to it.
Yeah, I'll say it's copyrighted. Before you go on, actually,
yeah.
sorry, with Hogan, I want to see like the first like 8 or 9 WrestleManias he headlined. Like he was the main event, and it's like that's crazy because he obviously he was getting to be really big, but he kept it going almost a full year, headline every single one. It's like it's just crazy to hear that or to see it. So
I don't think honestly, besides The Rock and maybe Cena, like who dominated the popularity of wrestling
yeah,
all that time for so long.
I feel The Rock was maybe bigger, but he only had a few years. Where
Right.
Hogan was like I said, almost a decade. Cena, he has that amount of time frame. I would say maybe just as powerful or as well known. It's like a strange way to
Right.
kind of compare it, but
I guess. I mean, I mean, you're right. The Rock's definitely way up here. I mean, just
yeah,
in terms of like everything he's done and what he's currently doing now and all that stuff. So yeah, I can
yep.
definitely see that. And then I'm skipping one because I want to finish with the one that
Go ahead.
really stands out. So the main event that year was Rock and Angle, which probably to this day is again on my top 5 list of best matches I've ever seen.
Yep.
And even though you almost watched Brock Lesnar die,
Oh yeah,
it's still scary to watch now. Like I always try and skip that part because I know British Bulldog.
Even the Bulldog. He's
Bulldog
like, yeah, that's scary. That's super scary.
You don't have to agree with me.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and then watching again the respect between the two at the end of the match and just both of them just literally pulling out all the stops and just a young Brock Lesnar, just a different attitude on Brock Lesnar then.
Yeah.
And then watching Kurt Angle, just dominate wrestling at the time. But it was just such a cool match to watch.
No, definitely.
And in my opinion, I don't think that should have closed the night. I mean, it still was good, so I can't really argue that. But
yeah,
The Rock and Stone Cold was by far still to this day my absolute favorite match to ever watch, and I can watch that match over and over again. because of their rivalry between each other for
Oh, yeah.
years. The lead up to all their WrestleMania matches, the way that we knew that Stone Cold was done.
Yeah.
Is that your
British Bulldog.
statistician right now?
Yeah.
I think your statistician's getting a little angry back there.
We're filming here. Come on.
Hey, get back behind the computer. I might need you.
I don't know. My wife just walked in. She's like, "What the hell is going on?" I'm like, "I don't know." She's going crazy.
The
She was upset about them. The wife. Yeah, it's all right. We could see that. It's live. We're live, brother.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, just go on.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Stone Cold fan. I love Stone Cold. Obviously, I'm a big Rock fan, but like I said, the rivalry between those two was just epic, and every match they've ever wrestled was just incredible. And again, knowing that it was Stone Cold's last match and the way he went out and the way the crowd reacted to this day, I think one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen is watching Stone Cold come out and you see his back and you're watching and you see on the vest, it just says bulletproof, but you see all the lights and him just coming down. And I don't know what goes through his head knowing like, this is it. Like, I got to give everybody if this is going to be my last match, this is going to be the best match I'll ever put out. And then watching The Rock come down, just so focused and like, I'm going to beat him. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to beat him. And that match was so incredible. And again, like learning at the end of the match after The Rock wins and then looks down at Stone Cold and says something and everyone's like, what does he say? What does he say? And he never reveals it until like fairly recently about it. And like, you know, thanking him and, you know, really just kind of like putting it out there. Like, thank you for everything you've done for me. You know, this, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere without you, you know, and I think it's true for the most part. Stone Cold led the whole Attitude Era, really created a lot of those characters to really kind of shine a little bit more and kind of express themselves in a little bit more of in a more of an aggressive way. And, you know, that was an end of definitely something that it made me sad because, you know, that was 2003, you know, that was the last time we watched Stone Cold wrestle. And it still sucks because the guy's still in great shape. And every year I would always wonder, like, can he just wrestle one more time? Like just one more time.
One more match. That's
you know, he's, you know, those two are definitely my top two favorites of all time. But like I thought should have been the main event that year. Should have been the last match that night. But
I think it's crazy where it speaks so highly of Lesnar and Angle where that was the main event.
Yeah.
And yes, it is a championship match, but it's like there's so much going on there and it's for the belt. It's got to go last.
Right.
And I will say, kind of like we were seeing with the Hearts before, with Brett and Owen, Lesnar and Angle had such a huge feud going where I think they had I think it was like an Iron Man match and, you know, whoever had the most faults at the end wins. But it was like, I think it was like 11-9 because they just kept making each other submit and pin each other.
Yeah.
It was some crazy match like that. And I was like, holy, or, you know, it might have been 7-6 or 7-5, but it was like kind of like a blowout where you were thinking like, okay, it's two guys, such incredible shape and they're amazing. And, oh, they're like running up the score against each other. Like, wow. Okay. Pretty awesome.
It's just, again, that WrestleMania just is one of the best WrestleManias I've ever watched. And unfortunately, it was one of the last WrestleManias I watched before I went on my hiatus of not watching wrestling, which kind of sucks. But again, I was happy to see that one. And you know what? If I had the opportunity and I had the money at the time, I would have totally tried to get to that WrestleMania, you know, and try and see something like that. Knowing, like, I mean, I didn't know at the time, but you know, knowing that it was Stone Cold's last match and you'd never see it again. But
it is crazy. I know.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, I will say we've picked some amazing WrestleManias here. Some great matches for the, you know, the viewers that are watching right now. If you have a different pick of a WrestleMania, if you want to deny our amazing picks and matches, feel free to drop a comment below.
Yeah.
If you agree with the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior, make sure I see that too. Let us
Tell
know.
your friends to subscribe to us as well and like us at the same time.
Yes. And comment. But until next time, thank you guys for checking us out. We will be having our Handoffs edition coming up later this week, later this month, but later on. We'll keep it there.
We'll get to it.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get
It's
to
a
it.
it's a
But
rolling schedule.
I thought tonight's was a very good one. I thought that we,
Yes.
that we get, these are the types of conversations that we enjoy having because it's like we throw it back to our childhood. We remember all these good memories. And, again, when wrestling was at its peak in certain times, and we got to share both sides of the generational spectrum of everything. So
Definitely.
definitely a cool one tonight. So I appreciate it.
Of course.
All
Hey,
right.
until next time.
Until next time,
Good
have a
night. Goodbye.
everybody.